Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the first time in years, I'm sick at the Capitol, so if I sound a little stuffy or whatever, just forget it. At first, I wasn't going to give a retirement speech because how can you condense 16 years into 40 minutes? But I did it. Looking back, I looked at the first book that I got when I came in. It was fun to look back on the people that were there. Many have moved on. They're now senators or supervisors or lobbyists. 10 of them I know of have passed away. And some just decided they didn't want to run again. It wasn't for them, which is totally understandable. 2 that I know of struggled with terminal cancer, but they rarely missed a vote. Kurt Hansen, teacher from Fairfield, sat over on the back row over there, and Paul Bell, retired policeman from Newton, sat right over here. They will always stand out in my mind as strong, dedicated, principled legislators. There are 9 of us left, 6 Democrats and 3 Republicans. Akeo, Abdul Samad, Beth Wessels-Krischel, Dave Jacoby, Bob Kressig, Rick Olson, Dave Dio, Majority Leader Matt Winchell, and Speaker Pat Grassley. Also, Brian Meyer was here working for the Majority Leader when I first came in, Kevin McCarthy. I do really hate leaving this back row of shenanigans. Beth, Brian, and Rick, I'm sure you'll continue the shenanigans without me, and I can actually see some folks moving back here to get in on what you're doing. Actually, I can see the havoc that you might cause next year. Maybe that's why Majority Leader Winchell doesn't stay at that desk very often. You're always fooling around back here. I wouldn't want to leave out Chuck Eisenhardt. Chuck and I are the only ones left from our class, Democrat or Republican. Chuck, you have become, in this time, an expert on all things environmental, from water and air quality to the CO2 pipeline to CAFOs. One of my issues. Anyway, I'm hopeful you will see the day when others in this body realize how important these issues are to the survival of our state. Thank you, Chuck. It's been great working with you. But please remember, talk to people about your amendments, please. Because your amendments are always insightful, and they keep pushing and informing. I will be watching. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. That came to mind when I looked over the past education chairs, because of course I never got to be an education chair. I served under 7 in all. The first 2 years we were in the majority, and Roger Wendt was the chair. And sorry to those listening, but I have never known anyone that knew education funding like that man did. He was awesome. Rest in peace, Roger. You served your state well. School finance is so complicated. I also want to thank Sharon, Brad, Melissa, and Margaret from LSA, the lobby, and ISEA for always being available to answer the questions when they needed to be answered. Back to the chairs. After Roger, we lost the majority, and there were 6 chairs. Greg Forstall, Ron Jorgensen, who I heard from in an email. He lives in Kansas City now, and congratulated me on retiring. We always got along really well. Walt Rogers, Cecil Dolacek, Dustin Height, and finally Representative Wheeler. I have really enjoyed working with almost all of them. And Skylar, that last comment was not meant for you. We had our issues at first, especially my frustrated sighing, which was, it should have been, actually. I think I had a lot to sigh about. We didn't agree on many issues either, but we came to a reckoning, and I feel we worked well together and we respected each other. And really, that's what it's all about. I have been here for 4 speakers: Pat Murphy, Craig Paulson, Linda Upmeyer, and Speaker Grassley. Thank you to all. It is not an easy job sitting in that chair. I'm assuming it's not easy. Every session, caucuses have been different because we have different personalities, different situations, different bills that come up. And I know Chuck will back me up. That caucus in the majority our first 2 years was quite the experience. We had the six-pack. 6 folks that seemed to always want to argue, push back, sometimes yell, and even more. It was quite something those first 2 years. The lobby all knew what we had talked about before we even got out of caucus. During that time, I would need calming, which was quite often. I went over and sat with Akeo. He had a way about him that helped me get through these 2 years of wild caucuses. Thank you, Akeo. You sit next to him and you just go, It was very nice. I remember one legislator who was part of the six-pack. He sat behind me over there, and he kept saying over and over, oh, the Farm Bureau doesn't like this bill, I can't vote for it. I said I'd vote for it in caucus, but I can't vote for it. Well, he wouldn't vote for it. He changed his vote in the middle of everything, and he didn't get reelected. Which brings me to 2 bits of advice I got when I came here that I have always held dear, and I think we can all see these are pretty important. Keep your powder dry, number 1. Bills change. Yeah, some of us learned this year. An amendment at the last minute can drastically change a bill. Keep your powder dry. Things change. The second bit of advice, I think, is probably the most important because nobody knows you when you come to the Capitol. All you have is your reputation. You spoil your reputation by lying to someone or deceiving someone, and you're done. At least you're done to me. I don't know, maybe some people are okay with that, but I'm not. But I always felt that was really good advice. All you have is your reputation, so guard that. I've lived in 8 different places. I envy Representative Best, who said 1 place the whole time. I've lived in 8 different places in 16 years. The very first year, I lived all by myself in Civic Court Apartments. I don't know if you know those apartments right next to the Civic Center. No Wi-Fi, no furniture. I had rented a bed. I had no roommate. So consequently, I was at the Capitol at 6:30 in the morning. I had nothing to do. Because I had nothing else to do, Jake and Dean became my early morning friends. I'm not sure where they're at. I'm sure they're over there somewhere. They became my early morning friends. The minute I knew they'd be in the office, I would go down to the leader's office and I'd ask, what are we doing today? What are we doing? They never knew. You would think at 7 a.m. on the day we're going to work, they'd know what we were going to do. But no, they never knew. Actually, it became the very favorite part of my day or my morning, was going in and giving them a hard time. And I've continued that tradition. Now, many of you remember Jack Drake. He sat right over there. But he was also early to work. Even though we were different parties, we loved to give each other a hard time and whoever arrived first. He always sat there, and if I came in later, I'd try and push his chair over, and we had a lot of fun. Everywhere I have lived has been memorable. And I especially enjoyed getting to know my roommates, Kirsten Ronnie Marquardt, Mary Wolf, Deb Berry, Liz Bennett, Helen Miller, and Representative Monica McCurth. They've been my family away from home. The best, I think, ever was the house we rented. 5 of us in a house. We had a great time there. Lots of good memories. My staunch, looking back 16 years, there are so many memorable moments. That's why it's going to be a 40-minute speech. I don't know. My staunch Republican dad came to visit me, and every day he came into the Capitol, he had on his Rush Limbaugh tie. He had several of them. They were beautiful, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they are beautiful. But he made a point of wearing one of those, a different one, every day he came to visit. And when he turned 90, and I had a big party for him in Arizona, I had the certificate for his birthday, and before he opened it, he said, "Did Linda sign it?" Linda Upmeyer. He really liked her. Also, he got a big kick out of teasing, where's Bob? Bob Kressig. There's a great story about my dad and Bob, but I can't really tell it. Not going to tell it, yes, right. You can ask me later about that one. And then the second year, I believe the second year, I sat over where Representative Young is. I sat there, and Phyllis Leedy sat next to me, and another Democrat. There were 3 of us over there, and I was close to the press. It was really, I liked that. But my dad came when we were being sworn in, and he looked at me and he said, "Are these all your people?" I said, "No, Dad, they're your people." So he gave me a lot of good memories. We had so many late night debates. One night we were waiting for Republicans to get out of caucus. It was very late, about 11 p.m. My good friend Phyllis was exhausted. She told someone to wake her up. She was going to go up to, there's a room next to 305. I don't know if it's still there. There's an easy chair in there. And you can go in there and rest. So she told someone to wake her up. She was going up there to rest. She woke up at 2 in the morning. We'd all gone home because right after she left, the Republicans came out and they decided, yeah, let's just go home. We'll come back tomorrow morning and work. So we all went home. Phyllis woke up at 2 a.m., dark. She came downstairs, the cleaning people. She went like this. I think they had a heart attack. They turned around, they didn't expect to see anyone. That's a really good memory. The 83rd session, we had just enough votes for a labor bill. And as we were voting, one of our members ran. It was a Thursday. He just ran out, wouldn't vote, so we were stuck. The voting machine stayed open the whole weekend, waiting for him to come back. So someone had to sit in the speaker's chair, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was quite interesting. It was also the year where the Supreme Court made their decision on gay marriage. So all in all, the first 2 years I was here at the Capitol was quite an experience, My favorite fun committee was Natural Resources. And when I was first on it, Clell Baudler, some of you know him, and Wes Whitehead, who just recently passed away from Sioux City, were on that committee. Those jokes I will have to tell after this talk, because there were some really fun times in that committee. Now, I'm a visual learner, I'm a teacher, and I know some learn better when they can see a chart or a graph. They do that in Washington. So about 9 years ago, I wanted to show how educational funding was going down and tax credits were going up. So I held up my posters, and the speaker at the time was not happy about that. So they made a rule that you can't hold up visual aids while you're speaking, like this one, that shows tax credits. Or like this one, that shows educational funding. Or my last one that shows small, medium, and large CAFOs in our state. Anyway, so my favorite quote from, I didn't get called out of order either, thank you very much. My favorite quote from that whole debate trying to get that rule passed, and of course it did pass because we're in the minority, but my favorite quote I stood up and said, "So I could bring a gun into the House, but I can't hold up a picture of one." And that was my I'll never forget that quote because I couldn't hold up a visual aid. Anyway, thanks for letting me show those. I actually take them to forums and they're very popular. And I have quite a collection here. I'm going to leave just in case that rule gets changed. They'll be here for people to use because I won't need them. I have been so fortunate and so blessed to have worked with this incredible body of dedicated people. Which brings me to the most important part of my speech, and that's my thank yous. Okay, stop. First of all, my family, their support and understanding has been so important, and you all know how much family sacrifices for us to be here. It's big. I am looking forward to spending more time with my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. And Alan, if you're listening to me, you have always supported me. I might add, you are very happy about me being gone during March Madness, so you can watch that in total pleasure without me interrupting. But you never complained when I dragged you to an event or a parade or just anything. He would always go. Representative Best, when you talked about parades yesterday, I thought the same thing, because I started out my very first parade walking and waving. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. So I pulled my phone out and I started taking pictures. And then people were taking pictures of me, but I was taking pictures of them. Some of my pictures people have posted years later with their grandma in it. It's a family reunion because Band Festival Parade is huge. The whole family's there, and maybe grandma died or whatever, and they're like, look at this picture. We wouldn't have it if you hadn't taken it. So, and then I post them on social media. People tag themselves. It's really been fun. I have people expecting, they yell at me now to take their picture. So it beats waving. Definitely beats waving. All right. I guess I'm not going to be 40 minutes. I hope you're not disappointed. All right, a huge thank you to staff. We all know we couldn't do this without them. I have seen our staff work in the majority and in the minority, and I sure appreciate their hard work. Thank you, Anna, Brian, Dave, Kelsey, Allie, Bill, Jess, Rochelle. I'm reading it because I can't leave anybody out. Steph, Jake, and Dean, the best. Dave was handed Education Committee quite a few years ago, and he took it on and has been incredible. He knows it backwards and forwards, and it's been a huge help for me. And I've enjoyed getting to know Kristen too, on the Republican staffer, and they have worked well together, which is good. Oh, and the staff. I usually call on Friday if I'm going to have a forum or something. I'll call panic because I need one little piece of information or something, and I can just hear them in the staff room saying, oh, it's Sharon, who's going to pick it up? I don't want to. Thank you, Jennifer, for your incredible leadership. I never thought I'd say this, but I am enjoying caucus. Never thought I'd say that. You have taken us through some tough decisions, and you've kept our caucus unified and strong. Hard to do, but you've done it. It has been inspiring being part of an all-female leadership team. Lindsay, Amy, Sue, and Heather, thank you. It's been a privilege. And of course, thank you to our caucus. I am proud to work with such a dedicated group of people. I've especially enjoyed the new folks coming in. I think we've just blended really well. I appreciate you all. Megan and Jason, thank you for the work you do and your staff. And Jason, you were the ed staff person when I came. I appreciated working with you then also. I want to thank the pages. We have a great group of pages this year, and the doorkeepers. They all keep us running. And definitely last but not least, I'd like to thank my clerk, Beth. Some people back home thought I would get my husband as a clerk, that I'd have him come up and be my clerk. And I'm like, no. I value my marriage more than that. That wouldn't work at all. I can throw something at Bev and say, can you write a letter about this? I want this and this and this in it, and it's done. It's been incredible. So when I interviewed people for the position, I had never run for office. I'd never even been in the Capitol. I didn't know how it worked. So I wanted someone with experience. And Bev had worked for 2 other representatives before me, and so it's just been a perfect union. I mean, I couldn't do it without her. Not at all. The first year I was on 6 committees, and the second year I had those committees, plus I ran for assistant leader and won that position, majority leader. So Bev had plenty to do just to keep me going where I was supposed to be going. The pages nicknamed me Popcorn that year, because I never sat down. Bev, we were a team. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. I so appreciate my constituents back home who put trust in me and have afforded me opportunities I never thought I would have. I mean, when you think about people you get to meet because you're in this position, the things you get to see and do, the privileges you have, it's incredible. And we owe it to our constituents who brought us here. I want to end by saying thank you to you all. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you. We all came to improve this great state, and let's continue to move in that direction. Thank you.
Love you, Sharon.